In 1999, Switzerland's ban on grain-based spirit production was lifted, and the country's first single malt was created by internationally award-winning Säntis Malt, which ages its whiskey in old oak beer barrels, most over a century old. A couple of years ago, Säntis Malt started distributing different whiskey barrels to all 26 guest houses of the Alpstein Swiss Alps to age at various altitudes. I'm Jeff. I just retired from the military, sold everything I own, and now I'm traveling around the world to learn from brewers, winemakers, distillers, and tell their story. This is my journey of beer, wine, and spirits.
Hi, my name is Kuno. Welcome to Appenzell, home of Säntis Malt Distillery. Säntis Malt started producing whiskey in 1999. Was one of the first whiskey producers in Switzerland, one of the first three, because before 1999 it was not allowed in Switzerland to produce alcohol or spirit from basic food resources such as potatoes, grain, corn, rye. There is no Swiss vodka or whiskey officially produced before 1999. So in the beginning it was more like a hobby or trying not to produce a single malt whiskey as they do in Scotland. The intention of the current owner, Karl Locher, was to somehow produce a spirit and take the flavors of beer cask that his ancestors were already using. Because before we were producing whiskey, the main business of our company is producing beer. So we're a brewery that was founded in 1886, still family owned. So yeah, the idea of Karl Locher was that he wanted not a single malt whiskey, he wanted those ancient flavors coming from those 50 to 100-year-old beer barrels that had been in use in his family. It's that beer barrel maturation that makes our whiskey different than every other whiskey. What the beer barrel does, it gives like a basic ground sweetness to the whiskey, which is because of the malt sugar that's been in the wood for decades. So all of our whiskey have like a basic ground sweetness. They're very malty. They smell and taste like as if you walk through a brewery. They're mostly very light, very fruity. Lots of basic beer maturation has lots of apple, pear. That sweetness from the malt sugar brings like a slight vanilla and a caramel note to the whiskey, and therefore in Switzerland it attracts many people. Not specifically the Scotch enthusiast, but just the open-minded spirits drinker. If you like whiskey, it's just very, very interesting to see what the barrel does. You will walk through the mountains, you will taste 26 completely different whiskies, but they're all made from the same ground spirit. We have some matured in rum barrels, in cognac, in Vieille sherry port, different red wines, French red wine, Swiss red wine, different wood types. For a whiskey enthusiast, it's just interesting to see what the wood actually makes. Some say that the barrel makes a third of the taste. I would say it's about at least half. When we started in 2015, there were two major efforts that had to be done. One was getting 26 different types of barrel to produce 26 different types of whiskey that are actually like day and night, both good but completely different. That was hard. And then getting those barrels up the hill was sometimes a task itself. Like it was like 50 years ago, some still bring up their material like drinks, whiskey barrels for example, by horse, by manpower. If there just is no path, people have to bring it up there. And it was also nice to see that many of the restaurant owners like build their own style of how to present and how to lay down the barrel. Some hang the barrel up in a tree. Some build like a little whiskey hut in or outside their restaurant. One barrel is dug in an earth hole. So there it's also interesting to see how the whiskey develops depending on where it's stored.
we just started the whiskey trek here. First stop at Ebenalp. Am I saying that correctly?
Exactly.
And what it is we got 26 total stops through the whiskey trek. And we're only going to get to probably about 8 or 9 of them. We're going to try to shoot for 9. And what you get is this little book here. And everyone we stop at, we give this coupon, and they take it and rip it off. And you get this little bottle
That you can either drink, bring home, collect, put it in a frame, or drink it and come again to get a second one to put it in a frame.
Perfect.
So, and you can start a whiskey track like pretty much in every restaurant you want.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can buy the coupon booklet in our visitor center, but at the same time in every restaurant the day you start.
Yeah. And there, again, there's no order. You could start here. You can start at the top at Säntis. You can start pretty much anywhere. Just the magic number is 26.
It's like an individual tour. You go hiking as you would go. It's not a specific route that is recommended.
Well, again, this is a good start to our trek, man. Cheers. Just to recap what's going on this morning, we started about 6:30. We already collected 2 bottles of whiskey, and we are actually on our 3rd mountain inn to collect our 3rd bottle. And Kuno, tell us where the mountain inn we're heading to.
Well, next up will be Gasthaus Rotstein Pass. We still have a lot of path and whiskeys ahead of us.
Oh yeah, you guys, 2 things I love, whiskey and hiking. Let's go.
Producing so many different whiskies, and for almost 20 years now. Soon after a couple of years, this guy Sid Manzer from mountain restaurant Alps, he was a whiskey fan from the first minute on, and after a couple of years he asked if he could buy his own barrel. He wanted his own barrel matured up in the mountain in his restaurant. So they did that, and after 3 or 4 years maturation, it was sold quite well, and he asked for a barrel again. But since they're all 26 restaurants in the Alpstein area around Appenzell are organized as an organization, the other restaurant owners came also and said, well, we saw it's quite a good idea, we want the same thing. So they teamed up and talked to Locher, and then they came up with that idea of each restaurant having his own individual whiskey, all combined in something that we then called a whiskey track.
What's significant about this here is this is the co-creator of the whiskey track. He didn't want 1 bottle, he didn't want 2 bottles. He came to you guys and actually asked for a barrel.
So we're gonna measure now the barrel that is part of the whiskey track.
We do check all 26 barrels on the whiskey track each year, once or twice. Not because of the taste, because the taste changes every day, like as long as it's in the cask. The main thing that we have to check is the amount of alcohol. We measure it and tell the cask owner how much it is, so he writes the right ABV on the bottle, which is mainly because of Swiss federal alcohol regulations.
Should be somewhere between 48, 50. But because it has been a hot summer, well, it didn't affect it in this cool building that much, but often in hot summers the alcohol content can also increase.
Okay. And talk to me about this nice little gadget. So this just measures
the
ABV.
pocket handy
Yeah.
alcoholometer that
Wow.
you every house should have one.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
You
where
can
do I
use it like every day?
Okay, so
What
49.
we got here, about 49% of alcohol, ABV. I'll just check what we measured last time.
Yep.
But plus minus 0.5. Yeah, it's the same.
Yeah, especially this one.
The perfect condition to lay for a couple more years.
Great. No big deal. Just walking through the Alps, you know. Cows, grazing, whiskey track.
Since 2015, we used so far about 60,000 of those 1 deciliter bottles. Some of the hikers, they collect all 26 of them. Some only get 1 or 2, or some get like a small frame with 8 or 9 bottles. The nice thing to see on the whiskey track is that it's not only like whiskey enthusiasts or hikers. It's like people from all age who like to combine, you know, like hiking, nature, enjoyment. It's not about the spirit itself. It's just like all together. Most people don't do the whiskey track in a day or in a week. They just come a weekend in spring, a few days in the summer, maybe a day or two in winter. And the whole whiskey track project itself was never the intention to sell as much whiskey as possible. It was to do something like for the area and for the region.
So guys, we just finished up with the whiskey trek, and I want to thank my man Kuno for taking us on the day-and-a-half trek. We finished 9 of 26, and of course you guys know my tradition. I am giving my man Kuno from Säntis Malt Springbank 18-year for taking us around and showing us a great time, man. I really appreciate
Jeffrey,
it.
I would like to thank you first for making that whole trip like safe down. It took us 12 hours today.
It did.
I didn't know what to expect from an American.
Yeah, I get it.
But you made quite a good job. Also, thanks a lot for this marvelous whiskey. Probably the second best brand on stage now. No, it was a pleasure having you here, and can't wait for you to come back to do the
rest of it.
rest of the whiskey
To be
track.
continued, guys. See you next time. Thanks again, Kuno.